You close your door, but another one opens. You take the elevator, but it stops on the wrong floor. You drive a lonely road, and something waits in the dark. These are the moments when reality fractures, where a familiar hallway becomes a gallery of shadows and a stranger's voice feels older than stone. We collect these fractures. We study the silence between the screams. This is the horror sector. Here, we don't just tell scary stories, we dissect the dread that lingers long after the final word. Prepare yourself. Tonight, we step into the quiet terror. The elevator door opened. There she was, a woman with her back to me, about 3 meters away. The hallway was very dark, as if the lights on that floor had died, but I could make out her silhouette. She had long, completely gray hair that fell heavily, as if soaked. Her hands were slightly outstretched at her sides. She was perfectly still. She did not breathe. She had no reason to be in an empty building. I had been looking for an apartment for months. The prices were impossible, so when I found a listing for a spacious, recently remodeled unit at a suspiciously low price, I ignored the obvious red flags. The building was on a strange, deserted street. The real estate agent met me at the entrance. She was profoundly nervous, her eyes darting between the building's interior and the empty street. She took my hand and said, "Come on, it's on the 5th floor." She did not smile. She said she would show me quickly, as she had other appointments. The lobby was dark, lit only by a single yellowish bulb. The walls were damp. The building was silent. No televisions, no voices, no footsteps. We took the stairs because she distrusted the elevator. By the time we reached the 5th floor, she was sweating. The tour lasted less than 3 minutes. As I turned to ask about the contract, she interrupted. "The other interested party will be here soon. If you like it, message me today, but you have to leave now." She then insisted, multiple times, that I leave the building's front door open when I left. Her tone suggested she did not want to come back downstairs. I decided to take the elevator. I was tired and needed to know if it worked. As I left, she repeated, I should not stop on any floor. The elevator door did not close properly, leaving a 2-centimeter gap. It shuddered as it began a slow descent. Between the 4th and 3rd floors, it stopped. The bell had been pressed from below. The door opened. There she was, the same woman in the same position 3 meters down the dark hall. "Good evening," I said. She did not stir. I pressed the close button. It was terribly slow. For what felt like 20 seconds, I watched her through the gap. She had not moved a millimeter. The elevator descended. On the 2nd floor, the bell rang again. It stopped. The door opened. It was her again, same position, same distance, but now her body had turned slightly toward me. It was a minute movement, but definite. She could not have descended the stairs that quickly without a sound. I said nothing. I pressed the button repeatedly, silently, not wanting her to hear me. The door took an age to close. She remained, now half facing me. It began to descend once more. I thought it would go to the ground floor. It did not. The bell rang for the 1st floor. When the door opened, I saw only a wall of absolute blackness. No light, no shape. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, shuffling footsteps, like someone dragging their feet. They came from the depths of that unseen hallway, growing steadily closer. I pressed the button. The elevator did not respond. The footsteps drew nearer, a slow, relentless approach. My back was soaked with sweat. When the sound was directly before the elevator, the door finally slid shut. On the ground floor, I burst out before the doors fully opened. At the entrance, a man was knocking on the building's door. Another man, a neighbor, was telling him not to go in, that no one lived there, that no one had lived there for a long time. The visitor shrugged him off and entered. I wanted to stop him, but my words failed me. My legs were weak. I left and called a taxi from several streets away. I do not know what happened to him. I do not know what I saw. Sometimes the memory feels like a dream from the entire visit. I'm still looking for an apartment in that area, but I will never answer another listing that seems too good to be true. This happened 25 years ago, when I was a child in a quiet neighborhood. We played on a dirt road at the neighborhood's edge, where our parents could see us from the window. One evening, we were playing later than usual. Dusk was falling, and the streetlights were poor. I was retrieving a ball when I saw a girl walking down the street. She was a stranger. As soon as she noticed us, she hid behind a car. One of my cousins suggested she was lost. I asked if she was okay. She emerged from her hiding place and I knew instantly something was wrong. Her clothes were odd, a simple, old-fashioned dress like a discontinued school uniform. It seemed worn. Her shoes were too large. Her face held no expression. When she spoke, her voice chilled us. It was thin, yet somehow adult, as if a woman were poorly imitating a child. She asked, "Where's the road?" Without context. I pointed toward the empty lot at the street's end. She did not thank us. She began walking slowly toward it, her gait unnatural, as if she were unfamiliar with her own limbs. We watched her disappear into the dry brush. At home, my parents dismissed it. The chilling part came the next day. Gossip spread through the neighborhood. A girl had escaped from a church a few blocks away. The stories varied. Some said she was possessed, brought from a town for protection, awaiting priests from Rome. They all agreed something was very wrong with her. Her screams could be heard from outside. I realized then, the girl we saw was walking away from the neighborhood toward the highway, fleeing the direction of that church. For a long time afterward, we did not play on that street, not by parental order, but by our own fear. Every night just before dark, we heard screams. They were not normal. They sounded like a little girl, then an old woman, as if the voice changed mid-cry. Sometimes they seemed close between the houses, other times they echoed as if from a great empty hall. After a while, the screams stopped. The story became a forgotten neighborhood rumor, but I still remember her unnatural walk, and that voice, which did not belong to the body it came from. In 2015, I lived in Guadalajara. I managed a bakery cafe and began my shift at 5 a.m., requiring me to leave my apartment at 4. I lived in an old building with echoing hallways and faulty lights. My apartment was on the 3rd floor. Directly across was apartment 313, a strange numbering anomaly on that floor. Every morning at 4 precisely, as I closed my door, the door to 313 would open a crack, just a few centimeters. I would see a blue kitchen apron, then the wrinkled hand of an older woman resting on the door's edge. Her voice would greet me. "Good morning, young man. Work is on its way." I would reply. She would then say, "I don't sleep anymore. If you'd like, come in for a coffee." She never opened the door further. I never saw her face fully, only a silhouette in the darkness. A strong smell of soap and clean laundry, laced with something stale, emanated from within. I always declined. This routine continued for months. One drizzly cold night, I returned from the store and glanced at 313. It was closed. A moment later, a loud, sharp thud came from inside, as if something heavy had fallen. I rushed to the door. "Ma'am, are you okay?" Silence. I knocked. The silence inside was absolute, unnerving. I went to the doorman, asleep in his chair. I told him I feared something had happened to the lady in 313. He looked at me with irritation. "What lady?" I explained about the morning rituals. His expression changed. He stood abruptly. "Come with me. Don't touch anything." He used a rusty key to open 313. The smell that hit me was not of soap, but of deep dust, damp, and years of abandonment. The apartment was in ruins. Peeling walls, rusted kitchen fixtures, a broken window draped in thick, ancient cobwebs. It was completely empty of furniture. There was nothing that could have made the noise. I insisted it was impossible. The doorman crossed himself and pulled me out. "We shouldn't be here," he said. Only on the stairs did he speak. "You're not the first." He told me that in 2007, a young doctor with similar early hours had reported the same thing. A voice from 313, an old man this time, offering coffee from behind a barely cracked door. When they investigated, they found the apartment in the same derelict state. The doctor moved out abruptly soon after. The doorman told me never to look at that door again, never to answer, never to accept anything. I changed my schedule to avoid leaving at 4. Months later, I left Guadalajara. I never learned who or what occupied that ruined apartment, but the memory is vivid, especially the phrase I can still hear. "I don't sleep anymore." This story is my uncle's, a truck driver for many years on the route between Matehuala and Saltillo. He was not a believer in the strange, but what happened to him on that road left a permanent mark. It was a lonely stretch, devoid of houses or ranches. On several nights at the same hour, he began to see a woman standing on the shoulder. She was always in the same spot, her thumb raised for a ride. She looked sad, not threatening. My uncle never picked up hitchhikers, but he saw her there for months. One night, he does not know why, he was moved by pity. He stopped. The woman did not react to his truck. She kept her arm outstretched, unmoving. Cautiously, he got out to speak to her. As he stepped onto the asphalt, he noticed his own shadow was strangely elongated by his headlights. Then he saw the second thing. The woman cast no shadow at all. None. He was now only a few steps from her. He saw her mouth moving rapidly, as if she were speaking with great speed, her gaze fixed down the road. But he heard nothing, no sound at all. It was like watching a frantic conversation through soundproof glass. A terror he had never known seized him. He ran back to his truck, leapt inside, and drove away without looking back. He did not slow down for miles. Later, on a daytime return trip, he examined that spot carefully. On the opposite side of the road were two old rusty metal crosses marking a fatal accident. He asked other drivers and local officers, but no one knew any details. He saw the woman 2 more times on subsequent nights, always in the same way, always without a shadow. He never stopped or slowed again. He never looked toward her as he passed. He is gone now, but I tell his story so it is not forgotten. It is a stretch of road I have never driven at night. The apartment door is shut. The elevator has reached the ground floor. The highway is miles behind you. But the memory remains, a cold spot in your mind. The image of that still figure, the echo of that unnatural voice, the shape in a doorway that should be empty. The story ends, but the unease is a tenant that never leaves. Stay vigilant, keep your lights on, and return to the horror sector where the next unsettling truth is always waiting in the dark. Subscribe and carry a piece of the dread with you. Until next time.